I'm Scott Allen Miller. This is my life living in Latin America, and I'm still here in New York where it's bitterly cold and snowing today. Just a light snow coming down. It is so cold. We went out to Tim Hortons this morning. Finally, we left the house for the first time since we got here to New York, ventured across the parking lot to get some donuts. That is as far as we were able to go. But being so cold and being here in New York actually gave me some really good thoughts about really kind of diving into why life in North America and why life in Central America, from just how our home lives are so different, is driven by climatic conditions. And it's, I think, far more important than people realize how much culture is derived from the weather rather than the other way around. Of course, weather is not derived from culture, but you know what I mean? That culture is driving far less of why people kind of live the way that they do in different places than the weather dictates. The weather is really making a bigger difference, and living here and explaining to people back in Nicaragua why things are so different here and why we do the things we do, why we haven't left the house in 4 days, is worth diving into. So we're going to talk about that today, right after the bump. We are doing short, quick episodes this week. One, because I'm in New York and spending time with my father, but also because it is so cold that it's very hard for me to get out and record. Luckily, with the microphone I have, the sound's pretty decent, so even though I'm outside in the wind, it sounds fine, and it is cold. So I'm not handling this well. I am not adapted to this anymore, even though this is what I grew up in. So growing up in this cold weather, we don't think about how it impacts every bit of our lives. And it's not just that the winters are cold, it's also that the summers are very hot. And people don't realize that who don't live in this region either. If you live in Nicaragua, you have a vision of the United States being far more mild than it actually is. Now, of course, some parts of it are much more mild than others. And this is New York, which is brutally difficult in every direction. Summers are quite hot and winters are insane, both from the cold and from the snow. So this is an extreme example, but it drives the example home. Nicaragua is an extreme on the other end, that it's quite warm, but it's even all year round. There's no real variation. Rain and dry, yes, but not in temperature. Because of the weather, it has encouraged people who live in Nicaragua to generally take the approach that life is lived outdoors. Restaurants are mostly open air. Houses are mostly open air. And of course, air conditioning is expensive, both to purchase air conditioning units and to adapt them to the existing houses, which tend to last a really long time, and to power them. So air conditioning is unpopular, and people are used to the temperature because it's even. You don't need air conditioning in the same way. You don't have the variations in temperature that cause such an impact in other parts of the world. But because it's warm all the time, and warm is easier to deal with than brutal cold, people don't go outside and expire because of exposure to the elements in Nicaragua. It may be uncomfortable. It's really warm, but it's not so warm as to cause medical conditions under most conditions. A few really sensitive people, yes. But in general, the warmest days in Nicaragua are just that much less comfortable, never dangerously hot. Of course, if you're out in the sun, that's different, but finding shade is easy. So Nicaragua has naturally, as much of the region has, because the entire region has even temperatures, encouraged an outdoor activity lifestyle. Whether it's restaurants outside or music is outside, people walk places. It's easy to always walk. Basically, everything you do is outside. Even your home life often involves being outside. Your courtyard is open air. Your house is often open air. Your front patio is open air, and so forth. So Nicaraguans are just always outside. The idea that you would stay in your house longer than to sleep and do a few chores doesn't really occur to most people. It would be rare to really spend a lot of time in your house. And we, living in Nicaragua, spend way more time in our house than normal Nicaraguans. And honestly, we don't spend that much. Every time you see me doing a video, I'm outside. I'm only inside because I'm at work there. Right? And otherwise, we're basically outside all the time. And sometimes even my office is open to the outside. The main part of our house is open to the outside. So we're still outside really quite a lot. Coming to New York, or explaining New York to Nicaraguans, it really hit me how much we're like, well, I can't go outside for more than a few minutes. Just doing my video is literally painful. My hand is aching. My face kind of hurts. My legs are frozen, but my hand is really the cold part, and my ears We're not going to go outside and do anything. There's a store really close. There's a Walmart just behind us, a Tim Hortons just behind that, and a few other restaurants all within an easy walk. If we were in Nicaragua, we would never get into a car to go to any of those places. We would go everywhere in town on foot without thinking twice. Here in Nicaragua, or here in New York, we would never, ever consider going even to the Walmart on foot. It would be dangerous, let alone comfortable. Driving there, we're worried that the battery on the car will give out. I saw a Tesla on the road, was wondering if it would start. Of course, it did. It's not that cold, but it's those kinds of things. Cars will stop functioning from how cold it is. Cars are painful to get into. You have to keep cars in garages to keep them warm. At least you used to have to. They're better at that now. It's a completely different world, but walking places is not an option. And so everything in New York life and most of the United States life is built around the idea that you stay at home. And we stay at home because the weather outside is frightful, right? Whether it's summer and it's so hot and we need to hide from the few weeks of super hot and stay in air conditioning because it's so hot and we're not adjusted to it that we can't handle it, which is the experience many Americans get when they go to Nicaragua. Yeah, it's not quite as hot as the hottest New York days, but it's pretty close all the time. But they're used to it. But in New York, we just came from cold weather. We're really not adapted to those hot temperatures, and it hits hard. But it gets hotter than Nicaragua from time to time. That is brutal. So we have to hide indoors with the air conditioning. If we go outside, we're just drenched in sweat. We're uncomfortable. We can't do anything, and nothing in life is adapted to that because it's such short-lived good or hot weather. Good weather in spring and fall, yes, we love it. We get outside and we do what we can because it's such a change of pace. We miss the outside. We miss sunlight. We try to take advantage of that. That is a real thing. In winter, which lasts half the year, it is so uncomfortable to be outside. Of course, people do it. People go skiing. People decide to just go outside. They walk their dogs. They put up with it. But it is unpleasant at best and dangerous at worst. And so in Nicaragua, when designing homes and designing restaurants and just city design and lifestyle, which is not exactly designed, but over time it kind of self-designs itself, I guess. Everything is about outdoor activity because it's just what makes sense. And in New York and much of the US, we get exactly the opposite. Life is designed around hoarding up in your house. You board up your doors, you lock them, no one's coming over, you're not going out, you might as well make it comfortable. And because everything's focused around keeping it warm, you got big comfy furniture, you got soft carpeted floors, you've got heaters and thermostats running and everything's central air because every room needs to be warm or the pipes are going to freeze. You have to think about things completely differently. But in Nicaragua, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. If you need to keep a room cool, you isolate that room. You don't have to cool the whole house. You don't have to worry about pipes bursting. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's very, very different. And so those little things, things that we really don't think about that often, we do talk about why, or that the lifestyle in North America is an indoor one, and that lifestyle in Nicaragua and Central America is an outdoor one. But the weather plays a really big role. Even if every New Yorker I knew wanted to live a Nicaraguan lifestyle, they can't. That is not an option. And Nicaraguans can't easily, carpet everything, do central air, put in big comfy furniture. It would be really uncomfortably warm. It would be weird. You wouldn't want carpeting in that hot temperatures. It's odd, right? It wouldn't work very well in either direction. So it makes for absolutely different lifestyles. Things that we do here as people who live in Nicaragua all the time and have a lifestyle there that we're very set into. The moment we're in New York, we do something totally different. How we eat, how we cook, what do we sit around doing, that we take off our shoes and walk around in socks on carpeting, that you sleep on the floor. All these things are normal in New York. No problem at all. You'd never think twice. But in Nicaragua, wouldn't make any sense because of the warm temperatures, the tile floors, the open air, and so forth. I just really noticed that my father has a cozy little apartment that it's all designed around keeping you warm and being quaint and cozy. And those things why wouldn't this work in Nicaragua? And of course you think about it, right? Coming from here and living there and you're sitting up here, you're looking at everything going, could I put this in Nicaragua? And instantly you're like, no, this would make no sense. For me, even though I love it when I'm here, if I go down there, I'd be like, wow, this is impractical. Nothing about this works well. And even this balcony that I'm on, right? In New York, balconies are about go outside for just a little bit, look out at the view, but you're not going to be social, you're not going to talk to anybody because no one's walking up behind here. But if this is Nicaragua, everything here would be designed around being close to people so that people who are out doing things out and about can walk right up and interface with you. And that natural weather climatic conditions have created partially a situation where in Central America, everyone's social. You talk to everyone going down the street, you sit out on the street to meet people. And in New York, that doesn't happen. Everybody's hidden in their homes because they're huddling away from this bitter cold. And that just really defines what life is like here. It was just an interesting bit of view that I had on how everything we do when we're in these different places is really defined by the weather of the place itself in ways that we just overlook normally. So I thought it was interesting, thought I would share with you guys, and wanted to keep it short today because my hand is completely numb. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. We're going to have those links up there. You can buy me a coffee, which I'm really cold. I need that coffee, or consider it a hot cocoa, at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. And you can join our channel. Send in your comments. I'm not going to put my hand up because it's too cold, but look down there. There's a scroll down. Say hello. Leave any questions you have for sure. If you'd like to send in a video question that we'll put on the show, all the instructions are down there. My email's down there. Our Nicaragua expats WhatsApp group is down there, so you can join and talk to other expats and get firsthand information quickly. Our Nica Habla information is down. So much information down there in the show notes. You can find ways to contact us. And of course, you can help support the channel by just watching another episode after this one and telling someone about the show. Get someone else to watch as well. And I will see all of you tomorrow.